The diplomatic chamber aboard the Constellation's Edge fell into stunned silence. Ambassador Velo Tharn clutched his hand, dark blue blood seeping between his elongated fingers, his four eyes wide with shock and indignation. The small, furry creature, barely the size of a human child, had its teeth still bared, a low growl rumbling from its throat. Captain Lyra Benton didn't move from her position by the observation window. She simply turned, assessed the situation with those unnervingly calm human eyes, and asked, "What did you do?" Velo's crest flared brilliant crimson. "What did I do? Your pet attacked a diplomatic representative of the Kelrathi Union. This is an act of war." "Corin isn't a pet," Lyra said evenly, still not approaching. "And I asked you a question, Ambassador. What did you do?" The other diplomats in the room shifted uncomfortably. The Kelrathi delegation huddled around their wounded ambassador, while the human contingent remained eerily still, watching their captain with an expression that suggested they'd seen this play out before. "I did nothing," Velo hissed, his translator rendering his outrage in perfect standard. "I was simply walking past when this beast lunged at me." Lyra's expression didn't change. She walked slowly toward where Corin stood, the cub's hackles still raised, its crystalline eyes fixed on the ambassador. She knelt beside the creature, not restraining it, the observers noted, but placing herself between Corin and Velo. "Corin doesn't attack without reason," Lyra said. "He's a Thesian cub. His species evolved as empaths and protectors. They can sense intent, read micro-expressions across dozens of species, detect pheromonal changes that indicate aggression or deception." She paused, her gaze never leaving Velo. "So I'll ask you one more time, Ambassador. What were you doing before Corin bit you?" The chamber had gone deathly quiet. Even Velo's own delegation had taken a subtle step back. The Kelrathi ambassador's crest rippled through several colors: anger, fear, calculation. "This is preposterous. You cannot possibly suggest that I provoked—" "I'm not suggesting anything," Lyra interrupted, her voice still maddeningly calm. "I'm asking for facts. Computer, playback, last 5 minutes. This chamber, all angles." "Captain Benton," one of the neutral mediators interjected, a Phyrexian whose translator buzzed with concern. "Surely you don't mean to—" "I mean to find out exactly what happened before I apologize for something my companion did in defense." Lyra stood finally and crossed her arms. "Humans have a saying, Ambassador Tharn. Talk softly and carry a big stick. But we have another one too. Never apologize for protecting what matters." The holographic playback shimmered to life in the center of the room. Everyone watched as the scene replayed from multiple angles. Velo had indeed been walking past where Corin rested near the human delegation seats, but the enhanced footage showed something else. His hand extending, something small and metallic glinting between his fingers, moving toward the cub's neck. Lyra paused the playback. Zoom in on Ambassador Tharn's hand. The image magnified. There, clear as stellar light, was a neural probe, a device banned by the Galactic Concordance for use on sentient or semi-sentient species without explicit consent. "That," Lyra said quietly, "is a Class 4 neural extraction probe, highly illegal for use on Thesian cubs, whose neural pathways are still developing. In fact, using one on a cub can cause permanent psychological damage or death." The room erupted. The Kelrathi delegation immediately began protesting, but their voices lacked conviction. The neutral mediators were already pulling up concordance law on their datapads. The human delegation remained silent, watching their captain work. Velo's crest had gone completely pale. I was merely curious about the creature's empathic abilities. I meant no harm. You were going to extract neural patterns from a protected species without consent, aboard a human vessel, during peace negotiations." Lyra's voice had finally gained an edge, sharp as a blade. "The fact that Corin defended himself shows remarkable restraint. Thesian adults have been known to kill for lesser offenses against their young." She knelt again, this time running her hand gently over Corin's head. The cub's growling stopped, though his eyes never left Velo. "Here's what's going to happen," Lyra continued, standing once more. "You're going to submit yourself to the neutral mediators for investigation. Your diplomatic immunity doesn't cover attempted harm against protected species. The bite wound will heal. Corin's venom is mild, designed to warn, not kill. And you're going to be very grateful that I brought a cub to these negotiations instead of his mother. And if I refuse? Velo asked, though his voice trembled. Lyra smiled then, and every species in the room recognized it for what it was. Not friendliness, but the baring of teeth that predators share across the galaxy. Then I send a message to the Thesian homeworld about what you attempted. And I've met Corin's mother, Ambassador. She makes human maternal instincts look gentle by comparison. The mediators were already moving, surrounding Velo, their instruments scanning the illegal device. The Kelrathi delegation was fragmenting, some demanding legal counsel, others clearly distancing themselves from their ambassador's actions. Lyra picked up Corin, the cub finally relaxing in her arms. She turned to her own delegation. I believe we're done here for today. We'll reconvene when the investigation concludes. As she walked toward the exit, one of the younger human diplomats whispered, Captain, shouldn't we at least express regret that it happened? Lyra glanced back at where Velo was being escorted away, his earlier arrogance completely deflated. No, she said simply. You never apologize for doing the right thing. That's the problem with the galaxy. Too many species have forgotten that protecting the vulnerable isn't something that requires an apology. It requires courage. Corin chirped softly against her shoulder, finally at peace, and Captain Lyra Benton carried him out of the chamber, her head held high, unapologetic and unafraid. Perfectly, quintessentially human.